right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. What is going on? We are live on YouTube, Rockfin, and on Callin. And greetings to everybody. What's up, Rockfin people? How you doing? I see people on Rockfin. People are on Rockfin. Just started the show on Callin, so waiting for some people to file into Callin. But how y'all doing? There was a big Twitter space with RFK Jr. yesterday, right when I was doing my show. So that's always great. No, I don't think we're competing for audiences necessarily. But I don't know what's going on. It's a Tuesday. We have lots of things to cover as usual. I really had in my mind to cover this wide awake media post, but I think maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I mean, the gist of the whole argument anyways is something is not something that you haven't heard before. They're trying to conflate COVID and climate change. I mean, and there may be levels at which one might be able to do that, but they are not the same things. And I think it's a little bit lazy to do that. But let's look. Did you listen to some of that, Judy? Was it good? I mean, I heard a few moments, I think. Alrighty. From Leon Simmons. Has this ever happened before? Record high sea surface temperatures, record high global air temperatures, record low global CS extent. Didn't I already talk about this one? This is from May 25th. But there was something else in this chart that I wanted to, this chart I wanted to show from James Hansen. James Hansen clears up confusion about our draft paper on warming in the pipeline, right? Remember the draft paper about 10C of warming? We're going all the way to 10C. See? Get it? Did you like that? That was a music joke for anybody who caught that. There are already many signs of accelerating warming as GHGs increase and aerosols decrease. It says we are not yet committed to 10C of warming, but we are also not committed to make sure that we don't. So this is rather scary. We are here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I can't even look at my dates. We're here. Sorry. We're here at the end of this. We are here. We're here at supposedly around 1.4, verging on 1.5. They leave that out of the numbers. But we're about 1.5, basically. But they're saying super El Niños. Another one to strike. There was one, I guess, pre-2000. And another one, about to hit. Leading to accelerated warming. Up into the 2Cs by, 2030? In the 2030s? That's well before 2050, isn't it? But that doesn't look so good. From Fantoma sent me this. Water is wet and ice is, what is this? Too late now to save Arctic summer ice. Climate scientists find. It's in The Guardian. Today, ice-free summers inevitable, even with sharp emissions cuts, and likely to result in more extreme heat waves and floods. It is now too late to save summer Arctic sea ice, research has shown. Scientists say preparations need to be made for the increased extreme weather across the northern hemisphere that is likely to occur as a result. You mean like what we're already getting? Like that kind of extreme weather? Are we already getting extreme weather? They keep telling us we got to prepare for something that's already happening. I find that interesting. Analysis shows that even if greenhouse gas emissions are sharply reduced, the Arctic will be ice-free in September and coming decades. Starting with this decade, probably. The study also shows that if emissions decline slowly or continue to rise, the first ice-free summer could be in the 2030s, a decade earlier than previous projections. Prepare for that assumption to be wiped out. Oh my God, it was faster than we expected, right? We'll just see endless articles about that. I mean, I don't know. If by the time the Arctic is ice-free in the summer, or at that moment, where do you think we might be as a civilization? You think people will just be pumping out a bunch of articles, think pieces on what this means and what do we do now? And the research shows that 90% of the melting is the result of human-caused global heating, natural factors accounting for the rest. Since satellite records began in 1979, summer Arctic ice has shrunk by 13% a decade. How many decades ago was that? 4. And one of the clearest signs of the climate crisis. Unfortunately, it has become too late to save Arctic summer sea ice, says Professor Dirk Notz of the University of Hamburg, Germany, who was part of the study team. Scientists, we've been warning about the loss of Arctic summer sea ice for decades. This is now the first major component of the Earth system that we are going to lose because of global warming. People didn't listen to our warnings. Yeah, you know, it's a little silly to you know, if you've been paying attention, for the people that weren't paying attention, I don't know what to tell you. The scientists have been saying, you know, hey, here's what we think might be happening in the future. In a couple of decades, if we keep on doing the things we're doing, and now that the things that they predicted are now happening, you know, much sooner than expected, everybody's like, nah, nah, or completely not paying attention to what's going on. There's nothing happening. They've been telling us that climate change is coming for decades. Other climate scientists said in 2022 that the world was on the brink of multiple disastrous tipping points. This is rather silly. In 2021, the IPCC concluded that the Arctic would not lose its summer ice if emissions were cut sharply and global temperature rises were limited to 2°C. Really? They actually said that? But the new research published in the journal Nature Communications projects the loss of summer sea ice in the 2050s in the low emission scenario. in the low emission scenario. That is not the scenario we are on. That is not the path we are on. Currently, we're at the high emissions path. We are on the worst case scenario path. That's where the path we're currently on. If you're curious. The IPCC report concluded the Arctic would lose its summer ice in the 2040s in intermediate and high emission scenarios. But the new research advances that by a decade into the 2030s. That's because that's the path that we are on. Well, glad to know they're keeping up. Yeah. Well, sounds like fun. Here's another one from Fantomas. Rich nations owe $192 trillion for causing climate change. New analysis finds. I think I just read an article about this like 2 weeks ago. I mean, does it really matter at this point how much money we owe? Or, other people. I mean, the damage is, the damage is done. I think instead of, and it's kind of, I think, a bit of a misdirect to sit around and put numbers on, like how much we owe other nations or how much damage we've caused, like in economic, right, in dollars. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Don't you think? I mean, and all those dollars are not going to fix the climate change. $192 trillion, which is just a phenomenal amount of money, is not going to fix the climate change. Oh, we want to, just spitball these numbers as if they mean something, but we're not actually taking any meaningful action on the climate change. So that would mean a whole lot more, right? Actual actions, intentions, promises kept, massive reorganization of societies and how they run. Perhaps, people around the world in mass quantities taking on codes of ethics and how they operate. Caring for future children and animals, caring for the future of the planet, living with an ethical code. Not needing profit to be above all else in the scheme of things. Stuff like that. That would be worth more. And any one of those things, or all together, would be way worth much more than the fictitious $192 trillion that somehow is going to come from somewhere and pay somebody to do something. Like, come on now. But these nations, they might pay these other nations. The wealthy nations might pay the poor nations some kind of money, but it's not going to be nearly enough. And I think, what did I just read? I read an article last week about how the climate funding is being used for nonsense, for helping people open up chocolate shops and actually coal plant, going to subsidize coal plants. So I think, these funds that they're going to set up for, repaying the poor nations for reparations for climate change are big old slush funds that are going to be poorly monitored, and basically it's going to be, more money laundering, right? Or more things, more money sloshed around. It's not really going to the places where it should go. I just don't, I don't see it. But somebody sat around and did a whole bunch of, number crunching, probably because they got paid to do some number crunching, and they're like, oh, hey, well, look at here. Look what we have found. And again, none of this is going to help people, it's not really going to do a lot for helping people survive the climate change. They found that all countries in the Global North group had already exceeded their fair shares of carbon budgets. Really? Wow. The group had collectively blown through its 1.5C budget back in 1986. And its 2C budget was gone by 1995. Guys, we are 30 years in the rearview mirror. Two C is 30. 2C is not just in our future. 2C is 30 years in the rearview mirror. That's wild. Even if nations worldwide manage to collectively reduce their net emissions to zero by 2050, even if, and meet the 1.5C temperature target, even if Global North countries would still overshoot their share of the budget by 3 times. And they'd use up half the Global South group's budget in the process. Oh, yeah, it's laughable. Even if we did all that, which we're not going to do, they'd use up half the Global South group's budget in the process. You're okay. Sure. We're going to do that. We're totally going to do that. Wow. Did y'all see this about Puerto Rico? Life-threatening heat. Didn't I just show you a wet bulb chart yesterday? Life-threatening heat today in Puerto Rico. So hot that some meteorologists are astonished. We are amazed. I love it. I love when scientists are like, wow, this is really quite. Transmogrified. I don't know. Life-threatening heat indices in Puerto Rico. Dang. So this is like the feels like temperature between 115 and 125. Jesus. Ay, Dios mío. That is crazy. That is high ass heat. Heat index numbers are as high as 115 to 125. So what is going on? There are many factors. So let's dig in. A pocket of Saharan dust is right over the island, leading to clear weather, helping boost temperatures. There's a lot more. Zoom out, and we see a culprit, a large, intense, high heat dome forming just east of Puerto Rico, unusually far south, leading to a southeast flow and drawing up high humidity, but also record warm tropical Atlantic water temperatures, helping boost dew points. Dew points, the dreaded wet bulb. Yes, the warm water is partially due to climate change, so it is a factor. Tropical ocean temps have warmed by 2 Fahrenheit. Also, the natural distribution of anomalous warm water this year favors the tropics. Last summer, it favored the North Atlantic. But there's more. Now we arrive at the wavy jet stream. Ye old wavy jet stream. Wavy like gravy. The pattern right now is ludicrous in or around North America. Blocky is an understatement. Some may be due to Typhoon Mawar's added wave-breaking energy, but we are seeing these blocks more often, especially during spring and summer. There's a lot of work being done to figure out the link between climate change, blocks, and the wavy jet. The loss of sea ice and uneven heating at the poles is likely a factor in high-latitude blocks. Loss of sea ice and uneven heating at the poles is likely a factor in high-latitude blocks. This leads to a very amplified pattern, big blocky lows and heat domes. Next, we have a developing El Nino adding tons of energy to the mix. The subtropical jet is screaming. But that is more of a wintertime phenomenon than summertime for an El Nino. With that said, when you overlay that on the prevailing pattern, I can only surmise it amplifies. The bottom line, as we go deeper into 2023 and El Nino intensifies, we should expect a stunning year of global extremes which boggle the meteorological mind. The base climate is heated due to greenhouse warming, and a strong El Nino will push us to limits we have yet to observe. Someone says, I am from Puerto Rico. It is horribly hot. At night, you also feel the heat. Due to extreme heat, there are many people without electricity service. Yikes. Yes, obsolete optics. Scientists are mystified, baffled, puzzled, stumped, curious, perplexed, alarmed, shocked, appalled, confused, stunned, horrified, clueless, worried, terrified, frustrated, scared, concerned, and bewildered. Well, this is truly amazing. We never thought we would see this. And, you know, the good news keeps on rolling in. Ultra high carb life. I'm sorry. You said you're having. Well, okay. I'll give you a little more. Sorry about that. It was a little more volume. It was down a little bit. My volume also is like the jet stream. It goes up and down, wavy. I don't know what's going on with. I think that's a StreamYard thing, but it'll go up, it'll go down. It's very strange. From Roger Hallam, 1.5C is not a target. I call it a physical limit. This is from Jay Rockstrom. Or a quote. And from Cambridge, this is from May 2023. Current climate path will lead to collapse of life on Earth, say climate scientists. The state of peril facing the Earth is so serious that on current trends, life on Earth will soon be incapable of supporting human life. Or the Earth will soon be incapable of supporting human life, according to 2 climate scientists speaking at the inaugural Innovation Zero Congress in London. Professors Johan Rockstrom, director of Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, and Sir David King, founder and chair at Cambridge's Center for Climate Repair, said that failing to limit the global temperature to 1.5 C above pre-industrial levels is likely to trigger tipping points, destroying rainforests and marine life while making vast areas around the tropics uninhabitable for human life. Saying, well, we're at 1.2 and we could hit 1.5. sometime in the next 5 years. What a jump. They're not going to allow, there's going to be a lot of controversy. And a lot of not allowing for the temperature for people to go, well, it's 1.35 or it's 1.4 or 1.45, right? They're just going to keep on saying 1.2 until we hit 1.5. And they're like, 1.5. Wow, that's amazing. How did it go from 1.2 to 1.5 with no temperatures in between? Somebody explain that one to me. Well, we're at 1.2 right now. It took them a long time to even admit we were at 1.2. Right? Took them years, 5 or 6 years to admit we were at 1.2. What are we really at? I don't know. The James Hansen graph I just showed said 1.4. And I would think if we're about to hit 1.5 in the next few years, I would say that's probably where we're at. So why say dumb things like we're at 1.2? No, we're at 1.4 or 1.3. You can say it. It's okay. Just go ahead and tell people the truth and stop misinforming people thinking that you're helping them. Stop doing that. It is not helpful. It is the opposite of helpful. Let people know where we're at. We're probably at 1.4. We're hovering 1.3, 1.4. If we're about to be at 1.5, doesn't that make sense? It doesn't make sense to be at 1.2 and just all of a sudden we're at 1.5. Come on now. Are you scientists? Are you adults? Just be adults about it. Just say it. Professor Rockstrom told delegates at the inaugural 2-day conference in London, 1.5C is not a target. I call it a physical limit. There's one conclusion without any uncertainty whatsoever, and that is that 2.5C global mean surface temperature rise is a disaster. Well, no duh. It's something that humanity has absolutely no evidence that we can cope with. It would actually exceed the warmest temperature on Earth over the past 4 million years. Push ourselves to 2.5C, we're in unknown terrain. It would lead to a complete melting of the big ice sheets, which would be a 10-meter sea level rise. There would be a collapse of all the big biomes on planet Earth, the rainforest, many of the temperate forests, abrupt thawing of permafrost. We will have complete collapse of marine biology. We will have a shift of large parts of the habitability on Earth. Well, yeah. Yeah. Read on. Do we dare? Do we dare? There's not much more to read. And then just a bunch more misinformation. Well, by 2100 we'll be at we could be at 2.5C. Meh. Meh. From Doomer Girl News. Last week in the Northeast, it was over 90. This week, down to the 50s. It's been whiplash in the North America nonstop for 9 months now. We were just talking about what? The jet stream and the blocking and it's all over the place. That's why the whiplash. For those of you who don't want to look too closely at climate scientists or climate science, I urge you to just, go ahead and put it together. Listen in. It's okay. It's been whiplash in the North America nonstop for 9 months now. This is only going to get worse. How can anyone confidently believe our food system can survive this? Yeah. We were just talking yesterday about Georgia peach growers losing all their peaches. Doomer Girl News goes on to say, my friend's mother loves planting fruit trees. She lost all her fruit this year. When it warmed up in April, the flowers bloomed. Then the cold snap killed them before the insects could germinate them. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Fenrir. Well, he's retweeting Chris Van Steenbergen, who says we have to be very careful now about what exactly we are going to say to the media. I don't know what he means by that necessarily. Maybe we'll read on and find out. But he's showing a graph of what the 2-meter temperature, global temperature is. Also a high point for the date, a record for the date. And Fenrir says, in my honest opinion, we can say whatever we want to the media because no matter how much we talk, no matter how dire our warnings, no matter how imminent our mass extinction, the billionaire owners will silence their journalists in order to keep the sheeple shopping. Right. Or rightio, as Felix the cat used to say. Oh my God, it's the professor and rock bottom. Yeah. Okay. Sorry for the hold up. And, you know, the wildfires going down. New York City and Toronto have among the top 7 worst air qualities of any major city on Earth. Eastern U.S. and Central Canada are suffering through one of the worst wildfire smoke events in recorded history. Anybody on the East Coast experiencing the smoke events? Today in New York City, you can barely see through the smog. The area is not safe to breathe. The city is choked by wildfire smoke. Children with asthma are being rushed to hospitals. So that's happening. I wanted to find this thing I saw by Wide Awake Media. Maybe I'll cover it today. Maybe I'll still cover it tomorrow. I don't know. Oh, did you all see this? There's footage of when the police in Atlanta arrested the people who were, you know, committing the crime of raising bail for the protesters of Cop City. Have you seen this footage? Sabby Sabs tweeted this out. We are living in a police state. Cop City opposition confronted with militarized police force. They don't even treat mass shooters this way. Right? Like, you know, seriously? These people are uber dangerous, right? Stephen Donziger says military-style police in Atlanta invade a house to lock up 3 people in charge of a legal fund that helps Cop City protesters get bailed out of jail. This is a brazen assault on the U.S. Constitution. The real crime here is being committed by the police. Well, and if you deem or label, protesters. These are climate protesters, right? Environmental protesters. I think they're also, anti, you know, state thuggery protesters too, right? It's all wrapped up into one. But they're opposing this Cop City, uh, I don't know what you want to call it, compound for environmental reasons. But that's wild. They're going to arrest people running a legal fund, raising bail. You can't raise bail? Well, I guess you can't raise bail for people who have been deemed domestic terrorists. I don't know. I mean, it's fairly wild how over the top that is. Not surprising. Oh, needed to cover this too. Just when just when I think I've gotten to the end of the stories, no way. No way. Before we look at this, very quickly, the bestest, most directest ways to support the show. And I appreciate all the supporters. Venmo at Kevin Sandblum. Cash App, Red Llama Music. PayPal / Kevin Sandblum. BuyMeACoffee.com at BlackBearNews / BlackBearNews. All these are really preferred ways to support the show, but you also hit me with a super chat and or a super ray on Rockfin. All the links are in the description box of all the platforms I'm on. Yeah, I mean that is fascism, Andre. Overt, straight up. Right? I have Zelle? Do I have Zelle? I don't have Zelle. I should have Zelle. Seems a little weird. I mean, I should have Zelle. I don't have Zelle. I have everything but Zelle. So yeah, should probably set that one up. Obsolete Optics. I'll get on it. Independent testing suggests that plastic bottles leach chemicals into the beverage or beverages they hold. Virtually all plastic bottles. Methinks they're going to say even the ones you think are safe. Shall I read on? Should I let you know the down and dirty of the plastic bottles? A new report says beverage companies like Coca-Cola must be held accountable for the supply chain impacts of their plastics. How bad are plastic? Plastics are the devil. It's no secret that most of the PET bottles, named for polyethylene terephthalate, the plastic that they're made of, are never recycled. Many end up on beaches or in waterways where they degrade into unsightly plastic shards and fragments that threaten marine life. Many end up on beaches or in waterways where they degrade. Oh, sorry. But blighted beaches are only the tip of the iceberg. According to a new report co-published by the nonprofit Defend Our Health and Bloomberg Philanthropies Beyond Petrochemicals campaign, PET plastic bottles cause hazardous chemical pollution at every stage of their life cycle. Plastics have a terrible health burden on the population. I was just listening to a story. Sorry, you guys can't see that. Just listening to a story. I think it was on Pop Money. Okay, I'll check out Pop Money. I was just listening to a story. I think it was on Jimmy Dore about a high rate of cancers in young people or younger people, and they're trying to figure out what could be the cause, and there's a lot of ideas. One being glyphosates, right? Pesticide. Chemicals found in pesticides. I mean, there's a whole raft of things that could be contributing to high rates of cancer, and this, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's a graph somewhere showing, how the increased usage of plastics in pretty much everything that we touch and consume. That would probably coalesce or align with the increased rise in cancers as well, right? I don't know. Plastics have a terrible health burden on the population, said Mike Beliveau, Defend Our Health's executive director. He urged, no, get out of here. I don't want to sign up today. He urged the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, to place more stringent limits on the use of toxic chemicals and called on beverage companies like Coca-Cola, named the #1 plastic polluter for 5 years running by the Break Free from Plastic Coalition, to replace at least half of their plastic bottles with reusable and refillable container systems by 2030. The beverage industry has to be responsible and held accountable for the supply chain impacts of their plastics. The report begins at the end of the plastic life cycle with littered PET plastic bottles that release cancer-causing pollutants and heavy metals into the environment. Although industry trade groups like to advertise PET as 100% recyclable, the reality is that 70% of bottles are never collected for recycling. Instead, they're dumped, sent to landfills, or incinerated, causing air pollution that disproportionately affects low-income communities and communities of color. Of the remaining 30%, Defend Our Health estimates that only 1/3 are turned into new bottles. The rest are either wasted during the recycling process or downcycled into lower quality plastic products like carpeting. With global plastic waste generation expected to triple by 2060, experts say recycling infrastructure is unlikely to keep pace. Recent research also shows that the recycling process may unintentionally incorporate toxic chemicals into recycled toys, kitchen utensils, and other products, potentially putting consumers at risk. Oh my God. Oh my God. Right. Recycling actually keeps on giving, right? Keeps the chemical life cycle going. Yeah, I saw that emoji. I saw that Splenda damages DNA. Hey. Never touch it. Never use it. With global plastic waste generation expected to triple by 2060, they're not planning on downsizing. They're not planning on going backwards. They're not planning on stepping down the ladder of consumption. The whole plan is to go more. That's the plan. They're planning for that. They cannot plan for anything else. Because if they plan for something else, the value of their stock would collapse. Right? Future earnings, projected future earnings, suddenly, going in a downward spiral, or even just down a little bit, would collapse their stock. So you can't, they're planning for more. They have to. Recent research also shows that recycling, oh, I already read that. Chemical releases also further occur occur further up the PET bottle supply chain when bottles are sitting on the shelf. Independent testing suggests that virtually all plastic bottles leach chemicals into the beverages they hold. These chemicals include antimony from antimony trioxide. Never heard that. A cancer-causing catalyst used to speed up the production of PET plastic. Wow. A 2022 analysis from Defend Our Health found antimony in Diet Coke, Honest Tea, Dasani, and other Coca-Cola products at concentrations exceeding California's safe drinking water standard. Oh, you're telling me that bottled water is safer than your tap water? Bullshit. Oh, we have to have the bottled water. We have to go, here, you want a bottle of water? You want a bottle of cancer? Oh, I got to drink this bottle of water because my tap water is no good. Okay, sure. Knock yourself out. In response to Grist's request for comment, Coca-Cola said all of its products are safe and have been approved by regulators everywhere it operates. Consumers can be assured that our products are safe and of high quality. The rest of the report focuses on feedstocks, the chemical building blocks of PET, the production of monoethylene glycol, for example, one of PET's main ingredients, causes some 68,000 pounds of the carcinogen ethylene oxide to be released into the air annually and is the country's leading source of pollution from 1.14 dioxane, a probable carcinogen, sorry, had trouble reading that. Processing and refining oil and gas to make other plastic feedstocks, chemicals like ethylene and paraxylene can emit particulate matter, smog-producing volatile organic compounds, and aromatic hydrocarbons. The extraction of that oil and gas itself causes the release of more than 1,000 chemicals, some of which may have unrecognized health impacts. We're just barreling forward with a lot of these chemicals without understanding the implications for human health, said Rupa Krithivasan, Defend Our Health's Director of Research and a co-author of the report. She said, the burden of chemical pollution falls most heavily on marginalized communities, including poor people and people of color who live near fossil fuel extraction sites, plants that produce PET or its chemical components, and waste incinerators. According to Defend Our Health, people of color make up nearly 2/3 of those facing serious cancer risks from living within 6 miles of ethylene oxide emissions from a petrochemical plant. All right, guys, that does it for me. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I'm going to end the show here, but I will be back tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Rockfinners. Oh, I got logged out of Rockfin while I'm live streaming. Always like that. Hold on. Can it? What the heck? Hold on, guys. Can I log back in? It's a question. This is so weird. I don't know. Maybe it's my browser. Maybe it's something else. It's just weird to get logged out of Rockfin while I'm live streaming. Wish it wouldn't happen. Anyways, we're back into sorry guys, Rockfinners, I'm sorry if I dropped out there for a bit. I apologize. I got logged out. I don't know how that happens, but somehow it happened that I got logged out during my live stream. But I just came in here to tell you guys I'm taking off. So thanks for hanging out on Rockfin. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. Everyone who tunes in every day. And I will see you all tomorrow. Until next time, peace.